شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر ولتكملوا العدة ولتكبروا الله على ما هداكم ولعلكم تشكرون.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ما بعد. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I want to talk about Ramadan. I want to talk about this holy sacred month of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about Ramadan in Quran in a beautiful way. And when He talks to us about Laylatul Qadr, He talks to us about the month of Ramadan at the same time. He talks to us about the month of Ramadan also in Surah Baqarah. And it was one of the places that I began to learn how to pronounce the ba, ba, which is Rama, ba, it has the dad in it. And for me, it was all brand new because I was not familiar with something like this before. I had only tried to fast maybe a couple of times as a Christian and found it to be an amazing thing. Fasting is an amazing thing, but I didn't think that it would be something that you would do on a regular basis or that so many people would do it together. I had only fasted by myself and go off somewhere, But this thing about fasting together with other people was so amazing to me. I never even imagined something like that before. When I came into Islam, I had to learn a lot of things fast. Things that you grew up with, you take it for granted, you see it every day. In fact, you don't see it. Because you're so used to it, you walk past it and never think about it twice. Should I give you an example? The difference between somebody who grew up outside of Islam and he comes to the masjid, and the one that grew up in Islam begins the minute he gets to the venue, whenever he comes to the place where you're going to hold the Jummah or the gathering, whatever, because he sees all these cars stacked up everywhere. And there's no organization whatsoever to any of it, just abandoned ship. Looks like abandoned cars laying everywhere. That's number one. When you walk into masjid, it's common to you, very common to you, something that's so amazing to other people that they will just stop. And journalists, when they come, especially photojournalists, they'll take pictures of it. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? Shoes. Shoes, because you don't think, do you think about shoes when you walk in the masjid? No, just where I'm going to kick mine off and try to remember about where they are, so when I come out I'll know about where to pick them up, right? That's it. But to a non-Muslim, it walks up and goes, shoes? Is there a sale on shoes? Is Salvation Army or Goodwill or what is this? All these shoes laying everywhere. Is it, like a care package or something? Why all the shoes everywhere? Because if you've never seen that before, you just go like, wow. We don't even think about it. What? Well, another thing, when I got in a little bit further into the masjid, another thing that hit me was I passed by this tiled room. It had like light green tiles in there and these little tile stools that were attached to the floor, these square box things looking, and people sitting on them. And what were the people doing? Throwing water all over the place. Is what it looks like. Somebody doesn't know, you walk in and this water is just going in all directions and the people are in there and they're mumbling, saying something and doing this. You look at like, wow. And people standing in line to get in there so they can do it next, And again, you and I would just, as Muslim today, we'll just pass by and go, okay, we'll do, think nothing of it. But the first timer looks at it like, oh, wow, what's going on here? We thought we were the only ones doing baptizing. These guys doing it every time they pray. So many things, you know. And then the next thing, when you get actually into the Musalla area, and you look around, and you go, who stole all their furniture? They don't have any, you know, those things in the church, those long benches, what they're called, pew. And don't ask me why. That's one of the words I never did look up. I don't know what it means. But these pews are all over the place, and you look in and there's nothing. Also, often in the churches, they have a raised area in the front, and that's where they have the stage where they put on such things as the singers come out, we call it choir, and they'll come out and do that, and the piano and organ will be somewhere and all of that. We'd have all this going on, and that was one of my jobs as a music minister. And so I come in and you don't even have that. I remember a Catholic priest friend of mine who visited a mosque, and he came back from the mosque, and I remember asking him, what do they do in that place? We'd never been in a mosque. We said, what do they do in there? He said, well, some men came and they lined up, and they stood there for a while, and they bent over, and then they stood up, and they bowed down on the ground, and do that a few times, and they left. I said, that's it? He said, that's it. I said, what kind of music did they have? He said, they didn't have any music. I said, how are you going to worship God without any music? Do you see how different it looks to somebody else? Have any of you ever been in a church? Anybody been to a church? And watch them? And actually go in and see them, and you think, man, is this different? Huh? It's so different. That's true. It really is different. But my subject tonight, though, is I want to particularly talk about Ramadan. And I was remembering back my first Ramadan, that as it approached, it was one of the things that I was afraid of when I came into Islam. Because I was told, and I heard from some people, not Muslim, that if you leave Islam, they're going to cut your head off. Okay? And I was worried because what if I can't fast? What if I get really hungry and I just say I can't take it anymore, I'm just going to get a drink here, or I'm going to get some food, and then bam, they're going to chop off your head. That's bad, you know. But I said, no, I believe Islam, and I'm going to try it anyway, and I just hope I make it, you know. And then we started fasting that one morning, and I remember that we ate early, got up early, and we ate, and then as the day progressed on, from time to time I would think about food, because it's the first time like this. By the way, when I fasted as a Christian, we have a fasting in Christianity, which is where you drink, but you don't eat. But you can drink all you want to drink. In fact, I used to make lemonade and put honey in it, lots of honey, you know, and actually you feel pretty strong after you. And we would go like 3 days with no food. But you got all this drink going for you, you know what I mean? And you don't think about it in the same terms as a Muslim, because he's given up all intake. Any intake can break your fast. You have to be really careful. Even if you get a drip, you know, if you go to the hospital and they give you what they call the drip, where they give you the glucose injection, if that happens, that breaks your fast, because it's considered ingesting. So, wow, here we are, this is a brand new deal. And about 10 o'clock in the morning or so, I'm starting to think, it's time for my usual cup of coffee. Nope, no coffee. Okay, it's all right. You get closer to noontime, well, a little bit hungry, but I'll be okay. And then we'll get busy with some other things. And around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you start feeling a little bit, you know what, like weak, or kind of like a little bit dizzy, because it's the first time.